Are you ready, Aaron?
Same. You're not ready? You're not ready? I'm ready? Sweet. We're ready to go. Okay, and with that being
Average thing. That's nature right in itself.
that's what I was trying to do and you interrupted me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to lead right into it. I was like, okay, and with that, but no, that was organic and natural, and now it's not.
All right.
Way to blow it.
Josh interrupting and ruining introductions since episode 0.
What I did?
Yeah.
What did I do?
No, not now. Well, now you did.
Yeah, now you did. Congratulations. By trying to be a troll, you just ruined the intro. Welcome to another episode of Use Your Words Podcast. I'm joined by Josh Brewer, who hopefully this episode will stay with us instead of buying something else on the web like he did last episode with changing his address legally.
So we'll leave that in the link, just a link to that in the description, or his address at least.
No, we are not going to do that.
Oh, it's fan mail, you know?
No, we don't need anyone sniffing his hair.
Oh, so that's my job. Yeah, back off.
Yes, that's your job. If you have no idea what we're talking about, listen to the previous episode, or just look for Biden sniffing children on Google or Bing or DuckDuckGo or your preferred search engine of choice, and you'll understand.
Yeah.
And we got Aaron, the sniffer Johnson over here.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron, hair sniffer Johnson.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
Aaron, I have some good news for you.
What?
Oh, word of the week today.
Woo! Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
This is
Oh,
the wasps, man.
we're continuing wasp talk here with Aaron Johnson. During the little break we had between the episodes, we were talking about the wonderful new, when I say wonderful, I mean like wonderful as in Tiger King quality music, wonderful level of new wasps here in the U.S.
No, Hornet.
Or
The
Hornet.
murder hornet.
Sorry, the murder hornet.
Yeah.
And now Aaron is looking up wasp and hornets online and kind of freaking out or giggling and going, woo! Every time he sees a new one.
Gary.
That's enough murder hornet talk.
Yeah.
If we were talking about the Sharona, this would already be.
My Sharona.
Really?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's okay.
I can't help it.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. So, unless you've been hiding under a rock here recently, and
Me.
even you who hides under rocks normally, what is going on in the world right now?
Chaos.
From,
Everything.
but what's the main cause of this chaos?
The Ronas.
The Ronas, or
Yes.
the Sharonas.
The Barona.
The Sharona Cyrus.
The Sharona Irish.
Yeah, say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, nothing. That's
I
worse
can't
than
even-
selling the
I-
seashells.
I can't even say or chew a leg off a table correctly. As we learned
Chew a
couple
table
episodes-
off a leg.
Yeah. As we learned a couple episodes ago. So I have no hopes of saying that correctly 10 times ago. But regardless of that, so quick timeline just to make sure everyone's back on track here. End of January, kind of the news started breaking about this, about this virus. China says, hey, yeah, we've had this since, December-ish. WHO at the time said there was no evidence from China that there was human-to-human spread. And then there was the whole masks don't help. Then there is human-to-human spread. Masks are becoming mandatory in some parts of the U.S. if you go outside, and some are if you go outside, and some are if you go outside and can't social distance. And some stores, because they own the property, they're making it mandatory if you're going to their store, you must wear a mask. Menards, for example.
Oh, they really?
Yes. So
Do they provide that, or do you just have to have one go in?
you have to have one to go in.
Oh, okay.
Do you think companies are going to provide stuff for free for customers? For their staff, yes.
Yeah,
they
staff,
are.
yeah, not customers.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily
makes
customers.
sense.
Now, there are some stores that are mandating masks and providing, but Menards, I do not believe, is providing. And there are other stores that are out there that are considered and deemed essential that are opening up and saying, before you can come in, you must be wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I'll wear a mask, but I'm not going to any of those stores that require that right now. But regardless of the fact, Brewer is typing on his computer again. What are you ordering, Brewer?
Nothing.
We need to have like a segment on like each episode of what is Josh purchasing this episode?
Nothing. I was just finishing up this thing with the whole murder hornets. Quick side tangent. You guys are going to like this here.
Go figure.
So the honeybees can kill the murder hornets, but the way they do it is, and I forgot that honeybees do this, is they swarm and they cook their enemies.
Yeah, they warm up their bodies.
And they can get their bodies over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's how they kill their enemies. But if there's enough murder hornets that attack a nest, they can't actively swarm and kill them because the murder hornets literally. I just watched one take a honeybee off of his back, bring it down, dead.
I'm going to find a murder hornet.
No, you're not.
I'm going to find it.
I hope it stings you.
I'm going to build an enlarge array and release it in a room with Joshy Boy.
An enlarge array.
Hey, you want to know what sucks about being a male? When male honeybees mate, their penises explode and then they die. During the queen's nuptial flight, she'll mate with about a dozen partners and leave a trail of their dead penisless corpses in her wake. There. That's the thing you know now. That's literally on this thing right here.
I believe it.
Amy?
It's a rough life.
So,
I feel sorry for you, Amy. Why did you say yes?
If I find Josh dead with a penis,
you said 2 inches. The Japanese giant hornet can grow up to 4 inches long.
Ooh, that'll be fun to get.
That's massive.
Let's get that over here in the U.S. Regardless of the fact, we are now off of more murder hornet talk. We are not getting hard-ons for murder hornets anymore.
No, I don't like them.
Back to the Sorona Cyrus.
Sorona.
So we had all these things with the WHO and that, and, you know, we've had these mandatory policies like, Johnson, don't you have to wear a mask at work now? Yes?
Yeah.
No, just a curious question.
No, yeah, I just... Going back to the whole thought of it's pretty much pointless because I have a beard and I haven't shaved it off.
Yeah. I should talk to your employer and give in some that in order for the mask to be effective.
You know what I'm going to do?
You all need to shave. Both you and JT can be baby faces together.
I'll just like shave off the part that the mask covers and then leave the rest outside of the mask on.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it.
That'll be my new style for 2020.
No. Anywho, are either of you? Let me start with Josh, because Josh, between the two of you, is more likely to have seen or at least heard of this.
Okay.
Because, well, as we learned, Biden is Biden, Aaron is Aaron.
Yes. Wait, what does that mean?
You'll learn.
Okay.
And you should know. Josh, are you aware of the video of the 2 ER doctors from out in California where they're talking about the statistics of the Sorona Cyrus?
Nope.
No, of course not. As I said, of the two of you, he would be the most likely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So in this video, it was like it was a press conference they gave for the press, obviously. Press conference for the press. They didn't give a press conference for puppies.
Aww,
but they gave a press conference where they went over the data essentially as far as they had seen. So they're not talking about a peer-reviewed empirical study. They're talking based on the patients that they had seen in a ER clinic. Now, to be fair, because this is brought up every single time by one of the people, they own like the ER clinic. So it's not like, you know, they're just working in the ER clinic. They own it. So obviously they're getting money from, you know, seeing patients and that. Okay, fine, whatever. But anyway, so they're they have the press conference, and essentially what they get down to is they start going over some numbers, and some of the numbers are suspect. I will give you that 100%. Some of the numbers are suspect, and how they got to those calculations, maybe we need to relook at that. But essentially what they were getting at is that the number of infections of the coronavirus, which we have seen through multiple antibody tests now. Again, if you want to talk about it, maybe if there's some issues with the test, we could talk about that. Those are debatable. But what they're saying is there's a larger population infected, and they're questioning if the death rate was as high as they were saying it was. So, they had some other stuff in there. Then Susan Wojcicki, I can never say her name. I've always heard it referred to as Susie Wiki.
Wiki.
That's not her full last name, but she's like the CEO or something like that of YouTube. And essentially she came out and said, if what you say is against the WHO, we will remove you and ban you. Because they don't want anything on any of their platforms which go against the WHO. Even if, and I'll be honest, the WHO has contradicted itself. So that's why I was asking if you had heard of those two doctors from California. Because I saw their video go up onto YouTube, and I was like, man, I'm surprised it's staying up. And it stayed up for maybe a week, and then it was taken down.
Somebody showed me something, and so it was a recording prior to a press conference or after a press conference. The microphone was left on, and I was talking about, hey, you don't need to wear your mask in here. Everybody in here has gotten the vaccine already.
Yeah.
And no, seriously.
I know what you're talking about. I know
he's
the video.
surprised. And he's like, yeah, everybody's got the vaccine. We're all safe here. And the mortality rate is 10 times higher than what they're saying. And you can actually look up an article on, what was it, Las Vegas or something like that. You can look up the article, and the infection rate, they believe, is way higher. So it's like 40,000 people infected or something, but they're predicting that it's 400,000 people in an area that are actually infected.
Right.
So it's just interesting that was caught, and apparently there is a vaccine, but only the specific people are getting it first.
That person, just because I want to stop that right there, that person was being 100% facetious.
Facetious? I can't say that word.
Facetious.
Facetious.
So the person was joking. They were not being truthful. There is no vaccine.
There is a vaccine. You know about it, Paul. You're not telling us.
Paul is giving it, but he can't let us know.
Exactly.
He's too important.
That's why this new job paid for him to be double dosed so they could keep him for as long as possible.
What? Paul's going to kill you now. You dead.
But so that person was being
Facetious.
very facetious about it. There's no vaccine available yet. They're saying maybe if they do some emergency searching and research, there might be one available in the fall. Maybe, but everything has to align perfectly. So everything has to align perfectly for that to happen, and even then, it's going to have to be rushed through. Because I know exactly what video you're talking about. I've seen it, and they were just being all jovial and. Yeah, they're just sitting there like, oh, yeah, whatever. So, what? Do you believe there's a vaccine?
No, there's not a vaccine because it's not an actual virus.
So now that we know that's actually still a virus.
Yes.
And there is no vaccine.
Yep.
So, when you talk about for it to even be done by fall, everything has to go by perfectly.
Right. But,
which we know how often things go perfectly.
Yeah.
Never.
But, okay. But beyond that, okay? So, oh, man. Just Josh. Typical Josh. Josh is Josh.
Just
True.
joshing with you.
See, you know that phrase, Josh will be a Josh?
Yeah,
That is so true on many levels.
it is.
With every Josh I know.
I said that too, and it was funny. I got some backlash at work for that.
From the other Josh?
Yeah. But there is one Josh that I do know who, I mean, granted, I don't hang.
Is their real name Tim?
Is his real name Tim?
They just like going by the name Josh?
It's kind of funny because that's his brother's name. But, yeah, I haven't hung out enough with him to, I guess, qualify him under the whole, falls into the whole Josh thing yet. But he seems like a cool dude.
I'm going to say this emphatically right now. Let it be known. All Joshes are Joshes.
True.
Let's get back to this.
Yeah.
Boom. Okay, so
Whoa.
back to the California press conference. Okay?
Yes.
Because obviously that's what kind of started some of this. So the two doctors over in California, they own medical clinics, so it's they make money seeing patients. So regardless, keep that in consideration, okay? You have to keep all pieces of it. So doctors Dan Erickson and Arden Mashihi, they have seen between the two of them at their practices about a little over 5,000 coronavirus tests at their clinics. Now, you can argue that them extrapolating those 5,000 tests to the entire state of California is a little much, and I will grant that. But what they did was they said, based on the data we're seeing, and here's be interesting here. Josh says on this one, they were arguing against the shelter in place stuff because they were seeing they were seeing a higher infection rate than, what's being reported, based on their test. And if you look at the antibody test nowadays, you can see that might be the case. And they're like, maybe we need to start opening up some things. And, now we know that California is actually closing all their beaches by governor's orders. I don't know if you saw that recently. There's some.
I already thought they were.
No, they had them open. Then the governor says, nope, I'm shutting them all down. And now some counties are actually fighting the governor to reopen.
Mm-hmm.
But the video was, again, it was on YouTube for a while. And then it was removed because it went against the WHO's recommendation of, stopping the spread. So my question is this. Whether you agree or disagree with the conclusion that these people say, if they're not just passing out fake data, like Josh saying that there's a vaccine available, Josh and his fake news.
It is. There is a vaccine available. It's called Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
And then if you die,
That's
you have
not
the
a
perfect
vaccine.
vaccination. You are cured from all the sin of this world.
I'm going to have a hell of a time editing this episode.
I sit there and wake up one morning and there's something in front of my window and Amy jumps and screams and says, "What's that?" I go, "Paul was here."
So here's my question, okay? Okay.
Yeah.
So regardless of where you believe them or not, okay, fine. They're not going on and, saying, go drink a bottle of nutmeg, which they're doing on TikTok, by the way.
What?
Like they're having people like it's the nutmeg challenge. Like they take a whole bottle of nutmeg and it's actually causing people to go to the hospital because it can be real bad for your body, actually, apparently. I saw a video.
Wow.
But it stinks.
Like, especially if you don't know you're allergic to it and you just ingest a large
my
amount.
gosh.
Yeah,
you're done.
stupid stuff like that. They're not saying go grab the nearest healing crystal to heal yourself. They're not saying like Chris Cuomo's wife. You know who Chris Cuomo is, right? CNN.
Oh.
He was a CNN.
I'm sure if I saw a picture, I would.
News anchor who got corona, and he said he was in quarantine, but then a biker actually filed a report that him and Cuomo got into an altercation on Easter weekend
Yeah.
in a different town than where he lives. So, and he was with people, so he really wasn't quarantining. So regardless, his wife actually has posted to cleanse your body of toxins. You should go take a bath with a cup of Clorox bleach in it.
Oh my god.
She also promotes healing crystals and that. So these doctors aren't going around saying, go take a Clorox bath.
Right.
These doctors aren't saying, drink chlorine or anything like that. They're saying, look, here's the tests we've seen. If these numbers hold true, this is what we think from a medical thing. Now, again, you can disagree with their numbers and how they arrived on those numbers. But my question is, should dissent from currently understood facts as they are be something that is allowed to stay out there, or should it just be removed at all cost like they're doing now? Because YouTube says if you're going against the WHO, we're just going to remove it. We don't care.
I feel like
There's two ways to come about this.
gosh. I feel like if they are going to be like that, which obviously they already have been, there's a ton of other stuff that they should probably remove right away too, that people post on YouTube. That's not even related to anything about the Coronas, but gosh,
What?
I don't know. Should they? Should they not?
Should dissent be allowed? Period.
Josh, you go.
Considering that we got into the topic of this a few months back on freedom of speech in private sector versus public sector, this is technically a private sector. It's a business. They have the right to control. It's challenging because as laws remain the same, society changes, and the laws can't speed up fast enough. I mean, yes. Now, if it's difficult, and some people can go, "Oh, it's just cut dry and thin." No, and some people say yes. What I find interesting is a lot of people use Google search engine as their primary search engine, and Google is a biased resource. Google also is in every part of our life. They have more data on us as civilians than probably the government does, and the government wants that. And besides that, you also have the other side of it where they're the ones that can help speak out against the government. But also, I mean, if it pertains, it's touchy because freedom of speech, the press, was designed to, there's a phrase from a TV show that I watched, and I was like, this is beautiful. The wording was just perfect for it. But the press is designed to expose the government on things that the government should be doing so that we can keep our own government accountable. But when the press starts to become biased, then you have manipulated reports of freedom of speech. You know, it's not the truth. It's what they want you to think is the truth. And there are some places out there that don't try to do that, but a lot of places do, just because of the whole money portion of it. It's you need the money, and if people aren't glued, or if you're not getting funding where you need funding, you're going to go to other sources to get it. Private sectors people flock to because they feel like they can't trust the media, but the private sector is just as bad as the press, because they're manipulated and they manipulate us based on the different was the word I used last episode, agendas that they have. You know, money is a thing for them too. So if some of their supporters are saying, hey, if there's anything that is not true, we don't want you saying it or allowing it to be said because it can cause confusion and stuff like that, that makes sense. I remember a few months ago we were talking about how people were doing the Tide Pod challenge.
Mhm.
And, in some places, if you do something and someone else does it and they get injured doing it, you're held responsible for their actions. And we had a conflicting issue because if I go out and kill somebody and the news makes it public and Aaron goes out and kills somebody, is it because of me or is it because the news made it public? So then it becomes a question of where do you put the blame, or can you put the blame anywhere? So I think it's just a challenge because we don't have any restrictions on the private sector when it comes to news. But then here's why I say that. But then in the public sector with the press, it's all bias. And I shouldn't say all, most of it's biased. So who do you trust? Where do you go? I guess one could say almost, well, if it pertains to news, it can't be put on, private. If it's news, Google can't advertise it. They can't have links to it. You have to go to the news sites for news-related stuff or something like that, because then the news is solely responsible for what comes out of new information. Hey, you can't. I don't have an answer for it. I don't.
So,
but I think if it can help, like somebody saying, "Oh, hey, you can take a bath in Clorox," it'll help. Health pertaining stuff, I would give YouTube full full permission to take something like that down. If eating a Tide Pod, the Tide Pod challenge comes back, I don't care, take it down, because if I have a kid and he isn't thinking straight, or he's not, something's going on and I'm not home and he's like, oh, hey, my parents got those under the sink. Let me do it. Let me take a picture. Let me send it to my friends. Because honestly, that's what kids do these days. They don't do things out of smart. They do it out of attention.
Yeah. Now, I think there is a difference to be said between something that's going to outright kill you, Tide Pod challenge, or the new thing going around TikTok, the Nutmeg challenge.
Yeah.
I had to look this up just real quick. The reason, so here's the thing: the Nutmeg challenge, one of the chemicals in it, under this large concentration, you mix ground nutmeg and water and drink it, and teens are drinking it to get high. It causes them to hallucinate between 6 and 30 hours.
Say what?
So
get me some nutmeg, boys.
No, let's do the cinnamon challenge. Let's see what happens.
Nope.
Nope. So the chemical involved in that is that it can have some bad consequences as well for your brain, especially if you have mental health issues. It causes a bunch of other issues too. So something that is potentially directly dangerous. Yes, I 100% agree. That should be gone. Go and inject bleach into your veins. That shouldn't be out there. If it was part of, let's say, a comedy sketch of some sort, not, hey, here's a cure for this, type deal. I'm all with you on that, right? But having different interpretations of data, because again, and if you want to go back to the previous conversation, if YouTube is granted permission by the law as it currently stands to essentially be labeled a carrier, where they're not liable for the content on their platform, but then they're acting as an editor by removing, where they're removing I guess you would say, death affirming content. Death affirming being something like eat a Tide Pod.
Yeah.
Something that's going to cause harm. Go ram your car into a light pole and see the amazing trick that happens when you do that. Dangerous, could potentially be deadly. Should not happen. 100%. I don't care if they're a carrier or an edge or whatever. No, people, and if you have a dumb kid that does it, some people go, well, that was a dumb kid. I'm like, no, that still doesn't excuse, encouraging that. But if you interpret the data differently and say, I want to look at the data in a different way, and these are our conclusions. Now, the two doctors, the video that was taken down was actually a press briefing uploaded and streamed by the local news channel.
And they took that down.
Right. It wasn't the doctors who put up the video. It was the news channel.
Interesting.
It was a ABC affiliate, actually, from the California area. So I could also see one thing if it was the doctors themselves, like making a produced video saying da-da-da-da-da. Like, I can't even play a clip of that video because if I did, YouTube would instantly remove.
Take it off.
Yep. But because they dare to interpret the data differently than the WHO is saying to interpret data, again, whether you agree with them or not, I think in science, there should be dissent allowed because, coming back from the Christian background, right? The goal is we always want to get to the truth. And we're not, from the Christian background, the most always clean, especially back in the Dark Ages with things. Take, for instance, Galileo and the church. He was interpreting the data differently than how the church was telling him to interpret the data, essentially. And he got into trouble. Eventually, guess what? He was turned out to be right. Now, these guys could turn out to be wrong in the long run.
Right.
Wrong in the long run. Not saying just because they're being silenced, they're right. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I leave that to Josh.
True.
Thank you.
I don't believe in tinfoil on the head.
Really? That worked for him.
Yeah.
Still a little gonky, but I mean, he made it out okay.
It's to keep you from sniffing his hair.
Oh.
But I think people who are giving their professional opinions because they are in the medical field, they should have some credibility to be talked to and talk about the subject at hand.
Right.
Now, if they were an Aaron Johnson and he went on a news a press briefing and tried to convince the world that chocolate milk comes from brown cows only. And first off, if a news briefing actually gave him that news briefing, a news company actually gave him that news briefing and put it online, A, I would be proud. B, I'd be scared. C, I'd have to be, is this April 1st?
Is this a big joke or what?
Right?
Yeah,
But-
I'd hope so.
But if Aaron gets asked to go speak at a conference about Velcro strap creation,
Hey.
I'm going to give him some credence. He may not be the utmost expert of the expert of the expert on how the, what do you call it, loop and whatever,
Hook and loop.
works. But he has some knowledge and insight into it. Just like these doctors have some insight into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Josh has some insight into how car repairs are done. Or how to order parts, depending on how you want to look at it. I have some insight on how to troubleshoot and fix computer stuff and do some programming.
Bruh. Some?
Yeah.
Some.
Humble. I appreciate that.
So we got those things, and we're saying these doctors who are just interpreting the data differently need to be silenced. Now, that being said, I look at the WHO and their, I guess you could, if you want to be generous, call it their evolution of their stances on the corona.
Yeah, as they find more data, they believe it differently.
Right. So what's their current thing that they're saying?
I don't know. I really haven't looked at it just recently.
Their current thing is that Sweden is the model we should all be following.
What is Sweden?
What is Sweden doing? Johnson, do you know what Sweden's doing?
Oh, aren't they? Wait,
Was it
I'm sorry.
Finland?
What do you mean? What do you mean by what are they doing?
What is their response to this Corona-virus?
Aren't they like keep things open?
They never went to lockdown.
Yeah.
So that is the WHO's current stance. They're like, Sweden is the model we should be following. What did these doctors say a couple weeks before the WHO said this? We shouldn't be in lockdown.
Why
But-
would a lockdown have to do with anything?
they're just looking at the data, you know. So the data of like number of people infected and that's what kind of started that whole thing with the doctors. You know, I will grant that their extrapolation of, you know, from 5,000 tests to the whole state of California is kind of a large grasp. You know, if they did from 5,000 to like their county, it's a little more tangible within reason, but to the whole state, it's a little big.
Push.
Okay. You know, combine that even with the antibody studies out there from New York, Florida, California. Even then, I would say it's still big. It's a big ask.
Mm-hmm.
But they're saying based on their professional opinion, based on the data they have seen, they're like, we don't see the lockdown as needed. That was a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Then now WHO is saying, you know, and then YouTube removed the video because you're going against WHO. Now WHO, Sweden's the model we should follow. What's Sweden doing? No lockdown.
Not locking down.
I'm like, so is the video going to be allowed on YouTube again? No.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So it boggles my mind on how these things change.
Right. That doesn't.
Because like social justice, you know, how we always take our current standards and put them to the past standards. And we're talking years. We're talking, you know, the 1700s and that, right? But here we're talking weeks where we're not able to transpose our current standards back.
Yeah. Goodness. So now that they're saying to stay open or we shouldn't have a lockdown, and they won't allow that. Well, I guess, wait, are they even trying to post it? Would they even try to post it back again, or would they just get it automatically taken down? Or do they know that?
It would probably automatically be taken down. They haven't posted it back on YouTube. Other people have tried, and it's been taken down. ABC News, the affiliate, is appealing and trying to get it back up. But that being said, all the alternatives to YouTube, BitChute, etc., they DLive, they all have a copy of the video up.
Yeah.
So if you really want to watch a video, you could.
Yeah.
It's a tough, long slog of a press conference.
No, I guess I don't. Why is YouTube so, like, I guess, only for the WHO or whatever stuff to be allowed to put up?
Because they see, and I'll give them this. I'll give them this. You know, there is some. What do you want to say it? There was some reason to take into account what authorities on the subject say. You know, in the WHO, you're making the good assumption, you know, unless proven otherwise, you're making the good assumption that they should have some authority to say on what this is. You're hoping, because they're the WHO, that they have, in good faith, studied as much as they have. You know, obviously you can point at the current shortcomings as much as you want. Does that line up with long-term trends? I don't know. You know, currently, there's good criticism there. You know, when they said that there's no potential of human-to-human contact, they're just taking China at their word. They didn't go and research it themselves. You know, so there's valid short-term criticism. Long-term, right. I think they've built trust up. You know, so it's just like, you know, long-term, I'm doing good and never accountable, and you get a blip one day from me. Right. You know, I've made a mistake short-term, but long-term, I've been trending that right direction. Yeah. It happens. But at the same time, it's like the Me Too movement. You know, I don't automatically believe all authorities just because they're authorities. You need to critically think and analyze the stuff for yourself.
Yeah.
You know, just blindly following what authorities say for authority's sake is damaging. Actually, dissenting and I'm not saying these doctors should have like grabbed their rifles with bayonets and said, listen to us. You know, they said, look, right. This is what we came to after analyzing the data, and this is what we think. And because of that, here's our conclusion we came to. We're having that conversation all across the country. whether you're, on the small scale or the large scale. You're having, like here in Wisconsin, you're having the Republicans suing to have Evers' stay-at-home order,
Yeah.
I guess canceled, whatever
Right.
it is.
No.
They're doing the same over in Michigan right now. What are you laughing about?
Oh, that whole protesting thing in Madison.
Oh, yeah.
I saw two people I knew, they posted some pictures on Facebook of the event, and this one guy had a poster that said I sent it in that group
Oh,
chat. Yeah, even Pharaoh freed the slaves. But that was after everything happened, and then that's just not right.
Right. No,
Inaccurate.
It completely inaccurate and does a disservice to do that.
Yep.
There's a difference between fake news like that
Yep.
and interpreting and dissenting from the majority.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, obviously, if we're talking about something like 2 + 2 = 4, if you're dissenting from that, something that is we can tangibly manipulate.
What if they're large values of 2?
We're not going into theoretical math here.
Yeah.
if theoretic, if I look at Josh and I go, Josh is Asian, you should hold me to that because it is obvious he's German. I think. I don't know. He has blonde hair, blue
What are you,
eyes.
Josh?
I think I'm 25% German.
Oh, see, there you go.
There it is.
Now that being said, in the world today, we do have, the whole thing of Aaron identifies himself as a baby and now needs to be taken care of in a crib in Amy and Josh's room. That would actually be creepy.
Yeah, I'm the biggest baby you ever
But
had.
we have that, and we don't call those things out. We accept it because that is your lifestyle choice.
You poop your pants, you're on your own.
No, he'll be pooping his diaper.
You poop your diaper, you're on your own.
He's going to be
I ain't
running
wiping
around.
that hairy arse of yours.
He's going to be running around your house, diaper only, no shirt on.
Oh my god,
You're
that's
gonna
gonna
have,
be a sight to
you're
see.
going to have 2 children to take care of right now: a puppy and Aaron.
Dude, I will play that role so well.
Just wake up like in the middle of the night for a bottle.
Yeah. I'm calling you and leaving you a voicemail.
But anyway, so we allow this to happen, and we not only celebrate it in America, but we encourage it.
Yeah.
Aaron, you feel like wearing a dress today?
Do it.
That must mean you're a girl now.
Do it. If that's what makes you feel good.
You must now get the top and bottom surgery to complete the process.
Oh no.
But we encourage those things. Now, there are some people who go, well, that's unfair to say because I'm really ma'am.
It's ma'am.
We need to be consistent then.
Right.
If we are going to accept that, then we need to accept a different interpretation of the raw data, even if you don't agree with the conclusion. And we should not be lobbying then for the removal of anyone who disagrees with the data of the majority just because it is inconvenient to you and because politically it is inconvenient. We're at this point now where if I happen to be colorblind, I look at something and say, oh, that's blue. And Aaron goes, no, that's like, I don't know, purple, because
that's close enough.
Red and blue, whatever.
Yeah.
I can't see reds. And I go, no, that's blue. But objectively, we can scan it with something from science, using a scanner or something. It tells me this is the millimeter wavelengths we're getting back. Therefore, it is this color.
Sorry, Paul.
Yeah, I know.
You're wrong.
Yeah, I'm wrong about a lot of things sometimes, and that's fine with me. But if we can't even do that, if we can't even, we're not even willing to call each other out on being wrong on that.
That's dangerous.
That's dangerous. Now, like I said, these doctors could still be wrong. And if you listen to the press conference, the press people who were there did challenge them. And that is perfectly fine. I'm not saying that they should be able to give their press conference, give their interpretation of the data and not be challenged. They should be challenged. And if they're wrong, then they should be called on it. But should we just remove it?
He said yes.
Why are you pointing at me?
Because you were shaking your head.
Because you're shaking your
vigorously.
head and we know you're a Bernie bro.
Gosh.
What?
Gosh.
Part of me wants to say no. Part of me wants to say yes.
Okay.
Because if it's like blatantly wrong, obviously the less false information out, the better.
Right.
But then look at the internet. So it's because it's mainly for the people that would legitimately believe it, but it's like, hey, dude, this is wrong. Be like, no, they said it, and it's like, okay, because like I guess like, well, granted, Wikipedia is obviously much different than YouTube,
Right.
I mean, because people can just edit stuff on there and put a bunch of baloney out there, and people take it as like, you know, it's solid truth.
Mhm.
But it's just, I guess, yeah. I mean, you can keep up or take down whatever you want on YouTube, but I mean, for the internet overall, I mean, there's obviously so much stuff that's wrong on there anyways.
Yeah. So that actually leads me to a question here, and I'm going to have Josh answer this first, since he has been kind of quiet. Let's assume, okay, for the sake of argument, let's assume these doctors are 100% wrong, okay?
Who's 100% wrong?
These doctors.
The doctors.
That the press briefing was removed. So for the sake of assumptions and argument, they're wrong. Would it be better? Because I believe, you know, there's that phrase, sunlight is the best disinfectant. You know what that means?
Are you talking like metaphorically or?
Yes. And yes.
Well, sunlight is the best disinfectant because we get our vitamin D from it.
That has nothing to do with disinfectant, by the way. Vitamin D is nothing to do
No,
with
I know what I'm saying. Our immune systems is it's a prime component in building up a strong immune system. Anyways,
not what I meant, but anyway.
In other words, you're talking about sunlight, something that you can see.
You're shining light on something, on a lie, on a false data, on false information.
Exposing.
Exposing it. As far as physically why sunlight is the best disinfectant, for instance, a study recently showed that the Cerconosaurus in direct sunlight with high temperatures and humidity might survive up to a minute, and that's it. The sunlight in that just kills it. You know, obviously they need to peer review that study, but that's pretty good. But what I was getting at though was the metaphorically of the light when the truth is on the data, where you know, however it is, it shows how lacking it is. So my question is, if sunlight is the best disinfectant, would it be better to have that misinformation centralized in one location where then people are able to respond with the truth, showing why this data is incorrect? Or is it better to have that disinformation decentralized over the entire web where there is no way to be able to talk about said truth? Because again, let's say I was a big critic of those doctors, right? I couldn't even use any of their clips to show why they're wrong without my own video then being removed. So is it better then to have that centralized, even with incorrect data, with the other sources around it to show how that is incorrect? Or is it better to let that just fly out in all corners of the wind, like Aaron was talking about, to the various aspects of the internet? Because the internet itself is very large, and you can always find something to prove your bias on the web. So what are your thoughts, Joshy boy?
I think one centralized location is a very smart idea, but then it also comes down to who's in charge of that one centralized location. And if they have a biased agenda, it all comes back to people just being selfish that ruin it for everybody else, because all it takes is one person to be in charge that shouldn't be in charge, and the whole thing goes
Hi, Susan. Wiki.
I see. I also see that. I also see that if it's information that is not life changing, like if more doctors in Florida came out saying they found out about something and they posted it on YouTube, they posted it on Instagram, Facebook, and stuff like that. I would assume they would have immediate contact to other people. But if they found a piece of information that is actually substantial, the fastest way to get it out is the private sector.
Right.
All the media outlets. That's the fastest way to get it out. So to hush them up, you in a sense could be saving, or by hushing them up, you could be losing hundreds of more lives because they just found out some critical information that they discovered because of where they live, because of the people they worked on, and the people that they saved, and a little trick they did that they may have snubbled on. So, in my opinion, if they sit there and go, oh, if you use this and inject this in your body and stuff like that, and it's medically speaking, I think it's a little different. But if like sunlight, if going out in the sunlight, that does no harm.
Right.
Yes, it is. Like I said, sunlight helps to build up our immunity. That's why there's something called the flu season. So that's not misinformation by any means. The data might be off, but we are healthier as humans in the sunlight, period. So to me, that's not worthy of getting it taken down. That's maybe there's a way that you could flag it and say this information has not been proven systematically to be correct yet, but I wouldn't see, because some people don't know that the sunlight helps our immune systems become stronger. Like some people literally don't know. So you're helping people understand something or believe in something. So that's where I stand. I mean, one centralized location is good, but if there's a biased opinion, that's not good in one centralized spot, as well as if it doesn't if it doesn't do anything revolving around the fact that it could take someone's life, there's no point to take it down.
Okay.
That's how I see it. Oh, you rub soap all over your face. You might not get well, if the soap's on your hand, you're already touching your face. So if it's on your face, then it just hasn't made it to your mouth, or your nose, your eyes. Yeah. I mean, it's now if it tells you to drink a whole bottle of Dawn soap, now that's something you would take down because that's
right. That's immediately dangerous and could be lethal immediately. It's not hey, we're looking at the data and we disagree with how it's been interpreted currently. This is our interpretation of it.
Yeah. So
and it baffles my mind that honestly the video is still down, even though WHO is like, oh, Sweden's the new model.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like, oh, well, then they'll just give WHO the, praise for be like, oh, we can do this.
One of the big complaints that people are having is that they own medical practices. Therefore, they're making money, and that's why. So
you can own a hospital and know nothing about anything inside the hospital.
Oh, I have some stuff I cannot say right now because of my current employer.
But I mean, that's the thing. Just because you own something doesn't mean you have the right to speak of it.
Well, they own it, but they're also practicing doctors.
That's different.
Yeah. So it's not like they're businessmen. They're not.
It's not a corporation hospital.
You're right. No, these are independently owned medical facilities. Like they're 2 facilities in one county. And they work as ER doctors in the facilities that they own. So these aren't people who, are tooth extractors, and they're not seeing any patients in this Corona time, in the Corona time. They're on the front lines seeing people as they come in at potentially in their worst condition. If they're coming into an ER, either they're having Corona, symptoms and they need to be tested, or they have gone to such a point where they're beyond needing a testing and they need medical attention, So that's where it comes back down to of, where do we put that authority level in? Again, if this was Aaron Johnson giving this interview and he goes, I read a web page once.
Am I not reliable?
No.
Jenny's the one that wrote it.
Jenny.
But if it comes back to then if it's the doctors, and I find it interesting that over the course of the past few years, we have been degrading the legitimacy of doctors and their opinions. For example, the anti-vaxxer crowd.
Vaxxer crowd?
Anti-vaxxer crowd.
Oh, vaccine.
Yeah.
Oh.
We have slowly been over the years saying, having groups like this say, well, we don't trust the doctors. They're in it for big pharma. We can't believe them. They're killing us. They're poisoning us. They're injecting us with poisons and microchips and all this other stuff. So slowly we have been degrading the value of people who work and are knowledgeable in their fields in the face of personal opinion. In this case, honestly, I think it's more along the lines in the face of fear of the unknown. Since this is a new virus, people are scared. People don't know what's going on sometimes. And there's conflicting news coming back and forth. And then just to say, well, just because we don't agree with their numbers, we're going to remove them completely and censor them so that they cannot have their perspective given. Even though it wasn't even them who uploaded the video, it was ABC News affiliate. Shows that as a company, there is that inconsistency. Again, because you have Cuomo's wife out there promoting her healthy lifestyle choices. Half a cup of Clorox to bath water to remove radiation and metals in her system and oxygenate her body. She also uses a body charger. It sends electrical frequencies through the body to oxygenate her blood and simulate the production of blood cells to fortify the immune system. It also rebalances her energy, which was off due to stress.
Sounds like she's a robot.
That's an understatement.
Well,
this makes me think of the VeggieTales now.
So, but you have that out there, and that's obviously off site. But at the same time, if you go to YouTube, right, and you search for something like homeopathic remedies, guess what? Now, some of the stuff out there is true, mint for a stomach, lavender to help calm you down, those are real things. I'm not dissing any of those things, okay? But Clorox in your water to help combat radiation and metals in your body. But yet, guess what? You're going to find that.
There's the thing that says survival of the fittest. The smart will survive, the dumb will die.
Yeah, you're all about that, right?
Oh, hang on.
Oh, okay.
When I clean up my dog's piss, I use Abyssal, right? I put Oxy. Okay, you just put it in the water. It kind of helps sterilize and flush and leaves a good smell. Just pouring a little Oxy in the water thing, you feel the cleaner. I mean, you guys, I'm not even putting like much in at all.
Yeah.
I put less in than what they tell me to put in.
Okay.
And I sit there and I'll use like half of it, right? I go to dump it out, or what I'll do is I'll use it because of the cleaner. I'll flush out the dirty tank with it. Then I pour it out. So the dirty tank has fresh tap water in it because I just rinsed it. And now I'm putting the Oxy water in it and I dump it and I still have this cleaner on my hands.
Right.
A man-made cleaner. Who is that dumb to want to take a bath in it?
Now, to be fair.
You're about to say something medical, aren't you?
Yes.
Oh, boy.
Bleach baths, low concentration of bleach, are useful for a certain group of people. Those who have eczema.
What's eczema?
It's a skin disease or in that. But really it's only recommended for those, people who suffer from eczema. Obviously, none of us in here do. Otherwise, you would know what eczema is.
I don't.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
I think Biko does.
Nico?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, some cases
little
they do recommend that but it's a low concentration of bleach. It's not to take care of the metal and radiation in your body. Okay. There is a reason why for that. And it's very minute. It's not, but you're still going to have, I look here, I'm looking on YouTube, and there's, the first ones are about the eczema stuff, but then there's other people about how to use bleach, chlorine bleach, to get rid of toenail fungus. By the way, spoiler alert, doesn't work. My mom tried it.
Why don't you just pour some good old apple cider vinegar on it?
That's on here too.
Of course it is.
That's natural.
Yeah.
It's a natural cleaner.
Ew. Tastes nasty.
Yeah.
It does.
Oh, I'm not saying it doesn't, but there's stuff like that on here as well. So, I mean, all these things are still available on YouTube. Surprise, surprise. Just right now, Coronavirus is the big thing. So guess what? They're paying very particular attention to anything from the Coronas.
Of course.
Because Aaron's got the Corona.
I do?
You do. It's all over your face. I'm watching a movie.
Well, then so do you.
Well, I guess.
Shave that beard, we'll really see it.
You got it too then.
Yeah.
I do. I kissed your head.
What? Oh my God.
Okay, so that being said, Josh, any final words?
I do.
Okay.
Oh, great.
Don't be stupid.
Coming
That's it.
from that one. Yep. Beautiful.
Okay.
I don't have any closing words.
Wow. I just got some Joshian things.
He got some Josh in his mouth.
Paul, I'm sorry. You are really going to have a fun time editing this episode. I apologize.
I am keeping so many thoughts in my head right now.
Yeah. Same. I'm glad we only have one more to go.
Okay. Oh my goodness. There's a video on here, turning salt into bleach to kill coronavirus.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, so what I have to say, I guess, on this one is this. Private companies have the right to determine what is or isn't allowed on their platform. That being said, as we have talked about previously, since YouTube wants to consider itself a carrier and not an editor service, they do then are under a little different scrutiny. While I agree that things that are immediately dangerous, Tide Pods, bleach, etc., things that will pretty much immediately kill you should be removed. The running into a brick wall challenge should not be a thing. And if it is, it shouldn't be on there. It should not be encouraging this self-harm or anything like that. I don't think that falls underneath that carrier editorial line. Where I do see that line being drawn, however, like I said, is where people interpret data differently than how the rest of the zeitgeist of the time interprets the data. And just because you're going against the grain does not automatically prove you're wrong or you are right. It just proves that you have come to a different conclusion than the mainstream, and there might be a reason why. And that reason needs to be looked at, discussed, come across, and just analyzed. It needs to be challenged. It needs to be prodded at. It needs to have light shone upon it to see if it's true or not. Just immediately saying, I don't like what you said, you are gone and deleted. does not help. If anything, it helps for conspiratorial people who then look at it and say, see, they don't want us to see this. Just like Josh, and hearing the video of the person at the news briefing saying, I already got the vaccine. You know that. We're good. Where I know Josh was joking, there will be people who will see that and go, see, there is a vaccine. Why don't we as public have it? There needs to be light shown upon fake news. And if the doctor's interpretation of the data that they are seeing is wrong, then it is wrong. But it should not be eliminated for the sake of potentially causing some slight confusion. Because to be frank and honest, their interpretation of the data is not immediately dangerous to anyone. It is not going to immediately go out and stab grandma in the eye, drag her into an alley, feed her into a wood chipper, and then throw her remains to Scout. That doesn't happen just because they interpret data differently than how you would like to see them interpret the data. We need to get out of this mindset that just because we don't like seeing something, just because we don't agree with someone politically, financially, morally, whatever, that they need to be shut up, silenced, removed, and never heard from again. And unfortunately, that mindset has come into our corporate media, such as YouTube, where they now follow the zeitgeist of the time, the will of the majority. The problem is when you do that, and we'll talk about this in a second in our episode, when you follow the will of the majority, what happens when that majority changes? What happens then when facts reveal that the previous assumption of the majority was wrong and your conclusions change and you censored people who were at the conclusion that you are at now, but they were at it a few weeks ago? How do these things impact and change one another? And we need to stop moving by the seat of our pants, by the whims of our hearts, by our emotions. These are scary times. These are times to look at things logically, get rid of that emotional bent, and figure out what is the truth, what is a lie, what is fake news, what is real news, and what do we say we need to look at deeper, harder, and get more data for. That's my final thoughts on that.